My name is William Hunt. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. I would like to tell you about my experience with tinnitus. It started in early April of 2009. I had a hearing test and it showed significant hearing loss in the upper range of the frequency scale. But shortly after that test, maybe 2 or 3 days, 4 days later, I started to hear a strange sound. I was unfamiliar with tinnitus. I had never heard the word before. I was not aware of the condition. But it started as a scratchy, static sound, just barely perceptible. Within a short period of time, perhaps a week and a half, it ramped up and became very loud. Loud enough that it sent me to an ear, nose, and throat specialist for consultation. He looked at my audiogram, told me that the hearing loss was obvious and not unusual, and diagnosed my condition as tinnitus. Again, the first time I had heard the word. I asked him what it meant. I asked him what I could do about it. He suggested to me that, since it was so early, I should be patient. That over time it may actually reduce and even disappear. Give it some time. And in the meantime, he prescribed an anti-anxiety medication, which I started taking. It took effect within a day or two and helped to reduce the volume of the tinnitus to the point where I could live with it and still carry on a somewhat normal life during the day. I gave it time. I tried to be patient. A month or two went by, and the biggest problem I had was at night. I was able to go to sleep at night, but it would wake me up. After 2 or 3 hours, I would wake up out of a sound sleep. For some reason, the tinnitus would ramp up, and I could not go back to sleep. So it was extremely disturbing not to be able to sleep at night. I would get up, I would walk around for an hour, it would start to quiet down, and I would go back to sleep, and only 2 or 3 hours later, it would ramp up and wake me up again. It was intolerable. I went back to the ear, nose, and throat doctor a couple of times, but by now it had been about 2 months. And he informed me that there really wasn't much else that he could do. He would continue to refill the prescription for the anti-anxiety medication. He would provide me with sleeping medication, which did help, but left me somewhat groggy the following mornings. But that was about all that he could do. He told me that there was no treatment, there was no cure from a medical standpoint. I was very disheartened and anxious and confused and depressed. I started to research this condition on the internet. I joined a local support group. I spoke to several other people who had suffered from this for years, and I did not feel any encouragement. I was at a loss for what to do. On my internet work, I came across by chance a video testimonial somewhat similar to this one, where an individual had met with Dr. Shemesh in Israel several years before the video, and that he had been treated by a medical doctor as if it were a medical condition. This surprised me and caught my attention. He also stated that the treatment was successful, that he had actually been cured. Fortunately, there was contact information at the end of the video. I anxiously attempted to contact the individual. Over a period of time, we exchanged emails and eventually talked to each other over the phone. I felt encouragement for the first time in several months. It seemed almost too good to believe. But this individual was very convincing and suggested that I call Dr. Shemesh on his cell phone and speak to him myself. That surprised me because we're not accustomed to calling doctors on their cell phones and speaking directly to them in the United States. It is unheard of. There is usually a receptionist or a medical assistant that you can talk to, but not the doctor himself. To my surprise, the first time I called the doctor on his cell phone, he answered. And we spent 35-40 minutes. He was very patient with me, asked questions about my condition, how long I had had it, and so forth. He also suggested that I wait a little bit longer because it may heal and improve on its own, and that he was going to go to an annual conference on tinnitus, and it was not the best time for me to visit Israel and have his full attention. So I waited a bit longer. It did not improve, recontacted the doctor, and got on his schedule. I arrived the very last day of July 2009 to begin consultation on August 2nd, 2009 in Tel Aviv, Israel.